Joining us on stage for this panel is Mr. Camilo Pereira, Director at Juniper Travel Technology. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Welcome, sir. Mr. Pereira is going to be leading the panel. He's a leader known for scaling Juniper Travel Tech's vision across multiple geographies and building high-impact teams and driving sustainable growth. Up next is Mr. Arun Bagaria, CEO, Travplan. A round of applause, please, for Mr. Bagaria. Welcome, sir. As a CEO and co-founder of Travplan, Arun is a leader known for transforming the offline travel market through a B2B platform that empowers travel agents, driving efficiency and growth across sectors. Up next, we have Mr. Albert Fernando, CEO and founder, Travelwings. A round of applause for sir. Mr. Fernando is a seasoned travel industry leader and is known for scaling B2B travel businesses across emerging markets, building resilient ecosystems, and creating meaningful opportunities in developing economies. And last but not the least, please welcome with a round of applause Mr. Sushant Mathur, Director, Product Management, Sabre Corporation. Thank you, sir. He's a seasoned product leader. Sushant is known for shaping Sabre's strategic vision and building a global B2B marketplace for the travel and hospitality industries, driving innovation and connectivity at scale. Gentlemen, I'll hand the stage over to you.
Hello, hello. Yeah, can you all hear me? Brilliant. Okay, so, well, first of all, an honor to be here. I'd like to thank Verbotech for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, now? Much better, much better. Well, we'll start again. An honor to be a moderator here with such a panel of experts. And obviously today we'll be touching upon the actual question is the algorithm economy. Who programs the trip of the future? Algorithm, one of those nice technical words that some of us understand, some of us don't. But obviously it drives a lot of logic behind what we do in B2B distribution. So I think today we're exploring how algorithms shape the future of B2B travel technology. Because obviously behind every search result, every mapped hotel, every route or fare decision in flights, there's logic, there's coding, there's that beautiful magic that they do to make sure that this data is tried to drive to the correct people. So I think the goal today is to first see how the algorithms decide what gets surfaced, how transparent they should be, also what's on the wish list. And obviously, I think two of the trending topics today, one is relationships, obviously the importance of humans, and also what the future holds. We won't go 10, 15 years down the line, maybe we'll keep it 3 or 4 years. But you know, what's the advancement, where we're looking in AI, and what we believe to be the correct investments into the future. Okay, so sorry, I've gone a bit old school. I see some people with mobile phones, tablets, so I've just kept it old school. So first, just to set the tone, and we'll start with you, Arun. Inside your B2B stack, what does the decision engine actually do today?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Camilo. So I think, today we've been having a great discussion about platforms, people and algorithms. I think when it comes to the B2B platform, I think every company which is working in B2B or B2C is working with multiple partners, right? So right from be it air or hotels or packages or any other, even like a bus service. So right from, which partner is good in a particular segment or in a particular area, that decision making is done by an algorithm. And the algorithm that, increasingly I see not just in our company, but all partners using is no longer restricted to just price, right? Like there are so many factors which are important when you're recommending a particular, an airline or a hotel over others, right? So first is the recommendation itself, that what content you want to push, which is based on the service, the times in case of air, the rates at that particular time in case of hotels, the reviews, so on and so forth. That's one. But eventually it comes down to so many more things, like what are the payment terms, what is the service levels that a particular partner has to offer. So these are, host of factors that I see becoming increasingly popular when it comes to any travel company which wants to invest and continue working with multiple partners. The reason for this, I think, is because every partner that you're working with has their own strengths. And if you're really building and investing in tech, what is important is you're able to leverage the strengths that each partner has. So something which Eric and Sukesh were talking about in the previous panel, that people drive businesses and companies forward. It is through these people that you come to know what really is a particular partner's strength. So the way I look at it, at least as a person, is algorithms don't really define what the judgment is or what the decision should be. I feel that humans make those decisions, or those judgments are done by humans, and algorithms really help you scale them because it's very difficult for a human to make that decision every time. But an algorithm is nothing but a set of rules which you've implemented to follow, like I had mentioned, routine tasks, to continuously follow that, right? So what we do at, what we do, I think what we see increasingly at an industry level is algorithms, or, business layer logics, more simply put, which takes into account all of these factors, right from service levels, payments, pricing, content, all of these factors, which include not just the booking flow, but the post-booking flow as well, right? Like a lot of times, some partners are very good when it comes to supporting cancellations, customizations, refunds, and things like these, right? Which we always assume are exceptions and can be handled offline. So I think these are some of the factors which I see are increasingly important for any travel company to ensure that they are looking at when they are deciding who is getting more business, or which hotel or which airline or which flight they are recommending.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there should be obviously the configurations of human control, but also there's a lot of data to handle, and sometimes the algorithms at the moment are quite static. But that's the evolution of machine learning and algorithms. Albert, I don't know if you would like to add something to that.
I mean, hi, thank you for having us here. See, algorithm is just a computing logic in terms of how it should work. But I think that should be parked aside, right? I think first what we should do is, what's my objective? What do I want to achieve first? What should be the customer user experience? First define that. Let it be on the user side, let it be on the operational side, the marketing side, the reconciliation, revenue management, yield management, whatsoever. Set up your objectives. Once you set those objectives, now how do I achieve that? Achieve that is where your logic and algorithms come to play. So your objective and your business goals is what derives, and the way of executing it is how we create these algorithms. I mean, that's how we look at it.
That's great. And Sushant, I know that Sabre heavily invested in AI. Do you have any kind of use cases that are with AI that you can that are successful or you're looking into?
Yeah, sure. So at least in typical enterprise B2B kind of setting, these decision engine, they do a lot more. And as the great Uncle Ben in the movie Spider-Man said, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you have access to so much of data, so much of content, which as Arun said, is not even structured, very fragmented. So these decision engines or algorithms, they do have to first look at eligibility. What can be sold? Then from eligibility, you move to visibility. What should be displayed? Then you apply all those commercial constraints around policies. Then you do your risk assessment, so on and so forth. So there are multiple layers, and each of these application of algorithm happens even before the traveler or travel consultant sees anything. Now that talks about the complexity. So UI is one part, but in enterprise B2B, where you have travel consultant doing multiple things, supporting multiple customers, these decisions have to be very faster. They have to scale with proper governance, proper control to that travel agency. So that's where companies like Sabre, where we are multi-source travel marketplaces, we have to make sure we are providing all these controls with right set of governance to agencies or to our customers, where they can manage and they can have more of systematic execution of everything that they need.
Yeah, governance. I think transparency is key. And obviously, with the algorithms and the platforms, there's always a question I see is, how much ranking or how the searches are being displayed, and should partners know how your routing, your ranking works, or do we keep it more black box? Like, these are the results, these are the objectives. I think it's a balance between transparency and the protection of IP rights. And this is just to anyone who wants to jump in. Like, what would your feedback be on that?
Yeah. So I'll take that one. I think when it comes to transparency across any particular product, both the things that Alberto mentioned and Sushant mentioned are important, right? I think what is important is when you're looking at it as a customer, the first thing is what is the objective, right? Like if I'm a B2B enterprise user of a particular product, I care lesser about complete transparency. I care about if my objectives are being met, right? So the way I look at it is there are three aspects. There is an input, there are certain parameters, and then there are weightages according to your particular business logic. So I think as a partner or as a software provider, you should be transparent about what inputs you are using. You should be definitely talking about the parameters you are covering, because that's the most important lever you have that you can improve. Probably you're considering 5 parameters, but one of your clients can think about a 6th or a 7th parameter. But getting into the weights may or may not be the most important thing, because that's not something which as a customer I care about. I care about the personal outcome I wanted to do. For example, I wanted for a particular search query that I have as a customer, that I want a hotel where I can host an event like this for 200 attendees in Mumbai, which is the best hotel, right? Like, so I care about that goal, like Alberto was mentioning. So I think that is important. Another aspect to to think about this is that when it comes to algorithms, right? Previous point that I mentioned, algorithms don't really define the end outcome. It's eventually a human, right? So I think what is important is the governance that we put in terms of the safeguards or just the rules that we are putting in. That is what is important to share with your partners. I think when you're sharing that in the B2B context, that is important. If it is a B2C travel company, I don't really think the end customer wants to really know what really is your algorithm, right? Like if you're ordering food on a food delivery app, you don't really care about how did the app know which is your favorite restaurant, because eventually you're ordering very often. Most people order from the same 10-15 restaurants more often, right? So these are some of the things which I feel are important. The importance of transparency changes based on B2C versus B2B versus working with enterprises. I think that's how I look at it.
And obviously in the B2B space, and the question was also about suppliers. You have multiple suppliers. Everyone's fighting to convert. Everyone wants to know why do they sell more? I sell more with this one. So with suppliers and multiple suppliers and platforms, and knowing why you're displaying first, what's behind that, Albert? What would you say?
See,
the transparency.
One thing very simple. If you expect that you have to be transparent in the whole thing, trust me, that's not going to happen. Because you have compliance in terms of what should be shown to the world, and there are certain internal policies and objectives of what you want to achieve as a business. What's your unit economics? How much of revenue am I going to make? What am I going to make at the end of the year? That's what drives the whole thing. You don't have to say that to anybody else, to be honest, because that's your P&L at the end of the day. So what is required should be transparent, which is ethically right. What is your business economics and what's over there? You don't have to really show it out to anybody else. I mean, that's the way I should look at business, to be honest.
Right, perfect. And with regards to configurations and what users are looking for, what is like the wish list? What would you say the users are looking for now in terms of what they could control?
Yeah. So again, just to continue to what we were discussing around black box in B2B or even in B2C for that matter, what customers or partners they need is, one is predictable behavior. So whatever this algorithm is doing, I should be able to at least predict the actual behavior or at least the outcome. That's one. And again, it has to be controllable. I should be able to control, because even a small ranking change can change or disrupt my entire execution if it's at the scale that I'm operating in. So one is predictable behavior, second is controllable outcome, and third is, as Arun and Albert said, there has to be some sense of explainability. I should have some audit trail, I should have some logging, some mechanism to even show that why we are showing X, Y, and Z and not A, B, and C. So that as a consumer of that algorithm, I have some fair understanding of what are the operation changes or what are the changes that I need to make in my entire mid and back office as well. Because that becomes very critical in B2B settings, at least, where any simple change can affect my entire reconciliation process, can also affect my bottom line. If I have something which is very specific to my margins, something very specific to my commercial constraints. So as long as I have predictable behavior with controllable outcome, I should be able to trust that algorithm. I don't need to know how it works, but at least these levers should be very well defined.
Right. So definitely, transparency is key on that part. So going on for the questions, what is the wish list? What is are the users looking for in terms of what they can do and what they can control with obviously the algorithm, the logic? You know, we can have things from routing priority by suppliers, they're controlling the markups in a dynamic way. Is there any feedback or any wish list from your side, Aaron? What do you think the people are looking for?
Yeah, I think at least what we have seen in our business, right, is that eventually, be it a travel partner or a large enterprise working with us, eventually everyone starts with either of the two, which is one, what the final traveler is looking for, which is the best recommendation for their particular requirement, given their constraints of budget, the area they want to stay, so on and so forth, something of that sort. And if it's a business, then like Alberto was saying, their business objectives, that today they are focusing on maximizing their volumes or maximizing their profits, right? So what I see in terms of wish list is a lot more final outcome, right? What is happening is, so we were just discussing this on Monday in our office, that earlier, whenever a partner would integrate with us, they would have like a decently long development cycle in terms of like a 3 to 4 week development cycle where the tech team would integrate. But what we see today, and we incidentally met one of the, I met one of the partners here. What we're seeing now is that when it comes to our API, people are just giving out our API documentation to, let's say, a Claude or a Cursor and saying that, can they integrate within a few days? So what is happening is that all of this information, which is tacit, which was in our minds, and 4-5 colleagues had that. The first wish list is, could you just document and give this, right? I think that is one area where all companies which are, in the travel B2B distribution space, if they invest very heavily, they can benefit significantly in terms of, whatever algorithms you have, whatever things you feel you can customize based on a particular partner requests. If you can document at least, your business scenarios, that gives a very good starting point to all partners as to this all is possible. Currently, the way we've been working at an industry level is all of this is based on conversation, right? So it's not that the conversation will get replaced, but the quality of the conversation will be a lot more richer because people can come prepared. This could have been possible earlier as well, but today, because everyone ends up putting any long document on, let's say, a chat GPT, asking it to summarize or advising you on how you can best leverage it, I think that is where the wish list starts, right? Like, can you give it to me in like a 1-pager or a 2-pager so that I can read it and I can give it to like my internal team? I think this is the first thing which I see increasingly from all our partners.
Okay, great. What?
See, I think for us, we in the B2B space, we're also in the B2C space. And when we have a chat behind with our teams, we always say, the biggest wish that we have is how to extend and increase my customer lifetime value. That drives everything else back, right? So how do I increase my customer lifetime value? Again, cascades into multiple different dimensions: user experience, commercial values, other USPs of what we do, what's our value proposition. And I think for any business nowadays, as they mentioned in the previous panels as well, how should we go away from competitive being the best price, the cheapest business in the market versus because in any which ways the pricing points are going to normalize in the travel industry. That's going to happen. It's happened on flights to a great extent. Hotels will get there as well. So as a business, what should you do to show that differential advantage? How do you show a value proposition? And how do you basically sustain your customer from a long-term perspective should be the wish list. And that with that vision, how do you drive technology? What kind of AI engine should you build on the top of it? What kind of data points should I store? And how will I really achieve there should be the vision is how I look at it.
Right, great, thank you. Sushant, anything to add?
Yeah, so in algorithmic economy that we are talking about, delay compounds faster, right? So more you delay, meaning more debt you have in terms of either technology, in terms of either servicing, or in terms of anything that you want to provide to your end consumers, to your consultants. So in terms of wish list, I would say three personal wish list items. One is obviously content quality and standardization. So we should have better content. That's number one. And second is getting reliable signals as well and clean data. And I'll talk about it, why I say we need to have more reliable signals and clean data. And third is having somewhat a flexible architecture to support all these new different touch points that are evolving every day or every week. So in terms of what are the possible use cases where I see we will require better content or better signal in terms of data or in terms of data readiness. Think about it, ChatGPT, Sukesh was talking about it, that it was launched in 2022. But if you think about last 3 years, it has completely changed the way all of us have been searching for, let's say, air travel requirements. People are searching without providing any location. People are searching without providing any dates or even price range for that matter. Now, in these kind of scenarios, how your system, your algorithm can understand the context, also understand the intent without I explicitly specifying it based on my profile, based on my historical patterns or searches, and give me the right set of optimized responses. I'm not looking for 500 different properties or 300 different rate options. I need 3 best property matching my requirement and 3 best matching rates for all the rooms. How I can do it? Once I have better content, which unfortunately in travel we do not have. Having the right signals, again, dependent on the data and content quality. And third is flexible architecture, because these new touch points will continue to evolve. ChatGPT will evolve. Gemini or other agentic AI tools will evolve. So this is what my wish list is.
Definitely, I agree. I think hyper personalization is important. Making sure that you get the correct hotel to the correct agent, end user, etc. And it's a question of conversion. And touching back upon relationship building and this, obviously margins and this is controlled by algorithms. But how much of that would you say, Albert, is controlled by the algorithms versus your traditional levers with relationship building? Like credits, lines, strategic partnerships.
70-30.
70-30.
70% is the routine daily transactions. Those are completely run by algorithms. The high level negotiations that happens with your suppliers, that doesn't happen on a daily basis.
Of course.
And that basically happens every quarter or whatsoever. And that's where you have to have both in hand, but it cannot be 50-50% because 70% is a daily transaction and 30% is a strategic negotiation.
Okay, good. And Aaron, what's your take on
our goal is 99.1.
99.1.
Yeah. I would say that some places we are already at 90-10, but I think everything, relationships cannot be priced, but every business commercial term can definitely be priced, right? So, credit lines, for example, is very easy to put from an algorithm perspective. Any PLB cashback, we already, like the algorithm we use currently factors. I think that's the direction you need to be in as a business, especially if you're in a price sensitive market. That's part one. Part two, I think what happens is that even for something like hyper personalization, let's say, Alberto mentioned regarding increasing customer lifetime value, right? So something like itinerary building, right? Over there also it would be like our goal would be to be at 99.1, right? Like because if a customer is looking for the best scuba diving, best scuba diving provider in, let's say, Bali, it's very rarely that a particular partner is offering, let's say, a great deal for you. You would sell that instead of someone who's actually providing a better experience. So the goal would be to be at 99-1, even if you're not there.
Okay, so we're going from 70-30, 99-1. Where would you balance that out?
I would say, since I have to choose a different number, I would say 80-20. But no, I would say that obviously relationships are not just with the customers, also in travel industry, relationships with your partner, relationship with your suppliers, or all other players in the entire ecosystem. So what algorithms or AI can do is it can probably help you in building better relationships, because you have better access to data. You have better access to all those tools that can help you accelerating the entire process which is needed for you to reach to a conclusion. So AI or algorithms are definitely going to help you with better tools, better resources, so that you can execute well and also probably manage your relationships better.
Great. So I think I'm taking into consideration the time. So this is a question for, just to put it out there, might be a discussion that we're going to have later on in networking with the beers and whatever. So obviously, what investments would you say that are made now in this space, and obviously taking in consideration AI, would you believe are the most important? Obviously taking into consideration data, infrastructure, talent in AI. I'll start with Arun. Where would you say we need to invest to have that long-term return?
I would say the post-booking flow, the operations. Reason being, one of the things which Manoj mentioned in the previous call, that it would take time for AI to get to a point where you trust AI to do sales for you. If you're like a completely checkout-based system, then it's very different. But operations is something which definitely can give you significant results.
Tech-driven travel companies who have already invested in data points and data centers and data lakes before they could invest into AI or whatsoever, for them, it's all about machine learning, doing multiple testing, and that's where their modular architecture of their platforms and whatsoever. I mean, that's how we focus. But for the majority of the travel companies, I think first what they should invest upon is collecting data and creating a normalized data structure of their business. Without that, in AI, garbage in, garbage out. That's how it works. So basically, first get your data right, invest on the data points first, capture them, and then you further invest in terms of what else.
Let the tech partners take care of the big work and concentrate on the front line. And just quickly, Sushant, because I think they're gonna chuck us off the station.
Yes. So very quickly, one is obviously to be agentic AI ready. I agree that we still have a lot of work to do. We are not there yet, so it will take few years. But until then, as Arun said, 100%. We have to see how AI, or especially agentic AI, can help us with some of those back offices, operation kind of work, where these autonomous agents can execute things based on their understanding of what we feel is the right choice and also what are our preferences. So fully customer-facing agentic AI readiness will take time, but until then, we should fix where we see maximum number of leakages, which is back office.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'd just like to say, round of applause to our experts. Made it very easy for me. So yeah, I think there's a lot of discussions that we can have later. But obviously, algorithms are here; they're the key. But we just have to look at how we can keep transparency, how we can help, how platforms can help to increase the tech stack and make the R&D for the future. And I would say again, human relationships, and this is a trending topic, are here to stay. And obviously, they are key because it's nice to be here and talking to everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that insightful discussion. I would now like to invite Mr. Rishabh Doshi, Managing Director, Classic Holidays, to join us on stage to present our eminent panelists with a token of appreciation. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Must grow alongside innovation. Insightful discussion.